Cockiness and trash talking isn't anything new in the UFC, but sometimes fighters make bold predictions and get completely humbled when things don't go quite to plan.
Do you see yourself being able to kind of squash the beef after fighting with him? Will you extend your hand after the fight on Saturday night?
Peace. There will never be peace here. I'm gonna aim right between that man's eyes, and this is never over. Never, ever, ever over.
He's got it, it's under the neck. There it is.
There's the tap! Still undisputed! Khabib Nurmagomedov!
And today, we're going to be looking at 10 of the worst examples of bad karma in UFC history. Starting with Jamahal Hill, who got badly humbled after talking trash, then made all of the excuses in the world for the bad beating he was about to receive. When Jamahal Hill got his shot at UFC 300 to challenge light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira for the belt, he wasted no time to start explaining how he was going to destroy the champ.
And you are known for knocking a lot of guys out, so do you see this fight playing out that same way where you're going to knock out Alex?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%. I see myself as superior everywhere. I see myself as a superior striker, as a superior grappler, as a superior clinch worker, as a superior thinker, as everywhere. I'm superior to him in everywhere in this game, and I'm gonna show the levels to that.
I've seen that he's not on my level. I've seen he's not on my level. It's not close, and I can't wait to get in there tomorrow and show that.
Hill's antics didn't stop during the final face-offs either, as he brought in Pereira's widely recognized symbol, a stone-faced prop strung up with a chain, which he went on to smash on the ground, indicating what was coming for Pereira. But unlike the build-up, the fight itself didn't drag on. Both fighters started off cautiously, reading each other's movements, but then Hill threw a body kick which referee Herb Dean thought was a low blow and intervened to stop the fight. However, Pereira quickly indicated that he was fine and waved the referee off, and the fight resumed. Just a few seconds later, Pereira landed a left hook that dropped Hill like a sack of potatoes and followed up with some heavy ground and pound, sending Hill packing just 3 minutes into the first round.
Oh no, it's a left hook again. Boom, boom.
It must be jarring, the power that he hits you with.
Ever since his loss, Hill has been campaigning for a rematch to prove that he has what it takes to beat Pereira.
For me now, it's not even about the gold strap. It's about getting back to that fight. I want to fight with Alex again, just because of the narrative surrounding it and everything. And I know what I was feeling in there, and I know what type of time it's really on whenever we step in there again. So I just want to get to that fight. That's the fight that I really want.
Hill has been following Pereira wherever the Brazilian goes, and the American was most recently seen yawning after Pereira's UFC 307 main event win against Khalil Roundtree. And while Hill's humbling was bad, nothing is worse than Ben Askren's humbling to Jorge Masvidal at UFC 239 when he ended up being on the wrong end of a UFC record that still stands today. Heading into their UFC 239 welterweight matchup, Ben Askren was a UFC newcomer, undefeated at the time, a former champion in 2 different professional MMA leagues, and super confident that he was going to destroy Masvidal.
I don't give a damn if George has reservations at the IHOP and doesn't want to come to work. I'm not missing an opportunity. He wouldn't say my name. It was like this little thing that he does. And George needs to know, I don't get full on a 3-piece and a soda. He better bring the whole damn family meal for that night. You are not really secure with your own masculinity that you see.
Oh my God, he said something. I need to go prove I'm tough. Hi-yow, I am tough.
There is no way on God's green earth this guy could do anything to me. It's totally impossible. I will do whatever I want to this person. I will dominate them. I will humiliate them. And when I grabbed George, even though I was only 2 months into my MMA career with no fights, that's how I felt about it. I think I'm very far in his head and under his skin.
Askren did most of the trash talking leading into the fight, and Masvidal refused to talk back, simply waiting to punish Askren for weak trash talking attempts.
I don't really care too much to do a lot of talking, especially like going the back and forth with an idiot like Ben. If he was like comical or funny or witty, it'd be different, you know, but he just says a lot of crap and hopes that something sticks on the wall. I'm happy I get to bust this guy in the face and get paid for it.
When the cage door closed, Masvidal rushed forward and blasted Askren with a massive flying knee, knocking him out cold in just 5 seconds to set the record for the fastest KO in UFC history. And when asked about the follow-up punches after the knee, Masvidal was quick to back himself up.
I saw some criticism. People say the punches weren't really necessary. Maybe
they were super necessary.
Askren wasn't sad about the loss though, because Masvidal corrupted his brain cells that were tasked to store that night's data.
Saturday night was least traumatizing for me. There's a little part of my memory that's blank there, but man, you know, I remember being in the cage with him. I don't really remember the flying knee. And then when I can recall, I remember everything. I was like, oh shit, I lost to Jorge Masvidal. This freaking sucks.
A year later, Jorge Masvidal challenged welterweight champion Kamaru Usman on short notice at UFC 251, but he fell short, losing by a decision. Determined to rewrite the script, Masvidal turned heel and talked his way into a rematch, and this time, it was Jorge Masvidal who was about to be on the wrong end of a bad humbling. Time and again, Masvidal claimed that he was the better fighter, and with a full camp, he'd obliterate the champ.
He cracked me he got a good right hand on the 4th round on me, where, you know, I thought he was going to shoot it, and he just clocked me in the face. And I looked him right in the soul, and I was like, man, you could never hurt me. And that's why he never wobbled me, he never dropped me or any of that stuff, you know, because he's not built like me. I am full man, and he's something. Not a man like that, you know.
If Kamaru takes a fight against me on 6-day notice with 20 pounds of cut, I finish him in the 1st or 2nd round. That's a great fighter. He doesn't go to decision with me, and he knows that for a team. That's why he was hugging me for dear life.
Usman didn't hold back either, reminding Masvidal that he was just a journeyman waiting to get his butt whooped.
You got 14 losses in your career, 7 in the UFC. You're 3-3 in your last 6. You are sitting there today because I chose you.
With all the bad blood between them, fans were primed for a 5-round war, but once the cage door slammed shut, it was Usman who delivered the final word, launching a thunderous right hand in the 2nd round that folded Masvidal like a lawn chair and knocking his lights out cold. The knockout was so brutal that even Masvidal couldn't help but be impressed by the sheer force of it.
I didn't feel that he could knock me out, but man, did he come through and deliver on that day for himself.
During his reign as the UFC's top welterweight, Kamaru Usman dished out plenty of humblings, but his most satisfying were definitely his 2 fights against Colby Covington, arguably the biggest villain in the entire UFC. Going back to their first fight at UFC 245, Colby Covington had already been talking trash about Usman even long before they were booked. Usman was fired up and ready for war, and with the entire MMA world behind him, but Colby was persistent that he'd be the one dealing the punishment.
This is what's gonna happen tomorrow night. You see Marty Fake Newsman's ugly smug? I'm gonna bounce it off the canvas, and I'm gonna kick it into the 3rd row, and maybe one of you lucky virgins will be able to catch it and take it home with you. Tune in tomorrow night, only on pay-per-view!
When the cage door closed, Usman and Covington went to war for 5 brutal rounds, with the champ dishing out slightly more punishment and breaking Covington's jaw in the process. In the 5th round, however, Usman dropped Covington with a big right hand and followed up with ground and pound, forcing referee Mark Goddard to step in and stop the fight. Neither humbled by the beating nor impressed by the ref's decision, Covington made sure everyone knew he thought the stoppage was premature.
And Mark Goddard is seeing this right in front of his face that I'm getting hit in the back of the head. You can go look at the video of the 5th round. I take 4 shots in the back of the head, and I'm completely coherent, and I cover up the back of my head. And when I cover up the back of my head, he calls the fight.
The heated rivalry, coupled with the controversial outcome of the first fight, led to an inevitable rematch soon after at UFC 268, and this time round, things only got more heated between the two, and the champ didn't shy away from reminding Covington about breaking his jaw in their first encounter, to which Colby was quick to dive deep, scratching open Usman's past wounds.
And I broke your jaw.
You took a fake timeout. The only thing you broke is your daddy out of prison. Where's that jailbird at? Is he in the building?
We need the scam artist here, just like his son.
Usman's father, Nasiru Usman, had been jailed for pharmaceutical fraud after arriving in the US, leaving Usman to grow up without him, so the personal dig was pretty low. But Covington didn't stop there. He also accused the former champ of using steroids.
We saw the photos yesterday. What's all those injection marks around your stomach, bro?
Usman did his talking inside the cage. On fight night, the cage was quick to light up again, with both fighters trading heavy shots, and midway through the fight, fans made it clear who they were backing to win. However, this time round, the fight reached to the end, and Usman did enough to defeat Covington by a unanimous decision, cementing his dominance in the process. Colby wasn't happy with his performance and vowed to come back stronger.
You know, I think we have unfinished business. I'll go 5 more rounds out in the parking lot right now, and I'm serious about that. I will see him again. I'm not done with him. I'll fight whoever it takes to get back there.
Usman seemed content with finally settling the score.
This guy's tough as nails. It's very, very tough. Like, let's be honest, you know, Ali needed a Frazier. You know, all these guys, you know, you can be the great ones, but there's always going to be that one guy that's going to be able to push you. And he is that guy.
At the time, Usman stood as one of the 3 African kings in the UFC, alongside heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou and middleweight champion Israel Adesanya. However, things started crashing down for the big 3 after Usman lost his belt to Leon Edwards at UFC 278. Ngannou left the UFC in 2022 due to differences, and Israel Adesanya was about to be the last in line to lose his belt after he heavily underestimated his loudmouth UFC 293 challenger. Izzy was set to defend his title against Dricus du Plessis at UFC 293, but after Dricus had to pull out due to injury, Strickland stepped in on a little over a month's notice to face Adesanya for the middleweight belt. At this point, Izzy was oozing with confidence.
You know what? I'll leave it at that. I don't think he has the chin. He just has the gas tank, maybe. Sunday, I'm gonna knock this motherfucker out. That's all I give a fuck about.
It doesn't matter what happens there. All that matters is the fight. And he knows he's outgunned and outmanned in this one. And I'm gonna go John Wick on this man.
But when fight night came, Adesanya and the whole world was in for a surprise, because despite being a massive underdog, Strickland came out looking sharp and he almost knocked Izzy out in the first round with a big right hand. Though Izzy managed to survive, it only set him up for a 5-round lesson from Strickland, who completely dominated and outclassed Izzy in every round and won the fight by a unanimous decision to claim the middleweight title in the process. Adesanya was left battered as Strickland walked away with the crown and then got over it quickly.
To be sitting up there with that belt, tell me about it.
I mean, I'm pretty much over it now, guys. It was exciting for like a month, a minute.
Adesanya didn't do much talking post-fight, leaving the press at the mercy of his coach, Eugene Behrman.
Win or lose, I wasn't going to say much anyway, but right now, I lost tonight to the better man on the night, and I just want to go with people, be with people who care about me, my team, and they're waiting for me, so I'm going to do that. But I will leave you in the capable hands of a man who is much smarter than me. I'll admit this on worldwide, national media. I'll leave it with Eugene Behrman. He'll handle this.
Once Behrman had the microphone, he made what many thought were excuses.
I think Sean's a great fighter, and I never once thought that Sean wasn't capable of beating Israel. But I thought if Israel performed to the fullest of his capabilities, it would be a very hard fight for Sean.
Team Adesanya carried the same cockiness into Izzy's next fight, where he was fighting to reclaim his title, but this time they were handed a beating so decisive that they were left with no excuses. By the time Adesanya made his return to the cage at UFC 305, his arch-rival Dricus du Plessis was the champion after he defeated Strickland, and Izzy wanted to teach the South African a lesson for his past comments about Adesanya, Kamaru Usman, and Francis Ngannou not being real African champions.
Did those belts ever go to Africa? As far as I know, it came to America and New Zealand. I'm going to take a belt to Africa.
The build-up to their fight was as volatile as it gets, with Adesanya taking shots at du Plessis from press conferences to face-offs.
If he wants to have to be perfect, if he feels that way, sure, but man, it's hard to do that against me. I just want to show you guys how great I am. And he said himself, like, he has the belt
to prove that he's great. I was great without the belt. I was great before the belt, and I'll be great after the belt. I'm Israel Adesanya, and I'll remind you guys that I'm the last stylebender.
DDP didn't hold back either.
You're saying that I
Bro,
made it
shut
about
the fuck up. You don't even know anything about my story. You have no idea who the fuck I am.
I don't care about your story. I don't care about your story.
Listen, my father and myself had to wake up at 4 a.m. and clean the banks while my mom studies to be a nurse. You don't know my fucking story.
Man,
don't fucking speak of my story if you don't know my story.
I don't care.
I will show you who you are Sunday. So right now, shut the fuck up.
I can't wait.
But the South African's trash talking was a bit too tough to handle for Adesanya, who ended up shedding tears.
I do this for my family. I do this for the people I love, and I'll fight for you forever. I swear to God. Watch this. Look, I'm a fucking human being. I am a man. I can cry and whoop your ass at the same time. I feel the love from the crowd. First time I fought here, 2-2-1. That was February 2018. That was me making my dream come true. Sunday, I'm gonna fucking kill your dreams, bitch.
Adesanya seemed mentally shaken, and it showed in the cage. The fight was close until the 4th round, when Du Plessis rocked Adesanya with a big right hand. A takedown soon followed, and Du Plessis sealed the deal with a rear naked choke moments later. After the fight, Adesanya was humbled.
I already knew he was a fan of me. I knew he was a fan of me, but I guess now I'm a fan of his because we've been in there, we've done it. And when I'm in South Africa, I'll tap in with him. But I said, look, we can hang out, but just so you know, when we have to fight again, I'm going to kill you. He's like, I'm going to kill you too.
Du Plessis gave his rival his flowers too, and the rivalry was over.
I landed quite a lot of big shots. The man can take a punch, but you can only take that many. You know, he kicks like an absent. Jeez. The man kicks hard.
DDP's and Izzy's rivalry is nothing when compared to this next rivalry, unquestionably the darkest ever in UFC history, which ended in a humbling so bad for UFC's icon Conor McGregor that he never truly recovered from it.
You said this is a very personal fight. You have been very gracious before in wins and also in defeats. Do you see yourself being able to kind of squash the beef after fighting with him? Will you extend your hand after the fight on Saturday night?
Peace. There will never be peace here. I always say you should aim for peace. But if you can't aim for peace, aim between the eyes. And that's it. I'm going to aim right between that man's eyes. And this is never over. Never, ever, ever over.
The rivalry between Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov is the ultimate clash of fire and ice, which all started after Khabib slapped Conor's teammate Artem Lobov for talking trash during a hotel run-in before UFC 223, where Khabib was fighting Al Iaquinta for the lightweight title. Fueled by fury over Khabib's crew intimidating Lobov, McGregor and a crew of his own teammates jetted from his hometown Dublin all the way to New York and stormed the Barclays Center on UFC 223 Media Day, attacking a bus that Khabib and other fighters were on.
Oh, shit. What the f***? You alright, Mike?
Regardless, Khabib ended up defeating Al Iaquinta for the title, and a few months later at UFC 229, McGregor and Khabib were set to finally clash in the cage. Naturally, the build-up was drenched with tension, with McGregor sparing nobody from Khabib's team.
Khabib's father, lick arse for fucking Houlihan, post a picture of Kadyrov at this mosque, and Khabib's father posted a picture up, and the caption is, "Together we are stronger." That if the tables were turned and there was an opportunity for his father to stab that man in the back, he would do it in a heartbeat to take over.
His manager is a fucking snitch, terrorist, rat.
McGregor went on claiming that he'd never be friends with Khabib.
My heart is black towards this man, towards his team, towards his people. I could truly see the inside of that man's head and smile. I don't give a f*** about him or his people. Like I said, there is way deeper shit than just a fight on Saturday night. So it is what it is. I'm here. I'm going to settle this the noble way for myself and then see what happens after that.
Habib quietly tolerated McGregor's verbal jabs in the lead up to the fight, yet he was the one who delivered the final warning.
I wanna say Alhamdulillah, God give me everything. Alhamdulillah, I know you got this, they don't like this. Alhamdulillah, tomorrow night I'm gonna smash your boy, guys. I'm gonna smash your boy.
And that's precisely what Khabib did. Inside the cage, Khabib dismantled McGregor, first sending him to the canvas with a massive overhand right before unleashing a barrage of ground strikes. McGregor managed to survive, but Khabib ultimately sealed the deal with a submission in the 4th round.
He's got it, it's under the neck. There it is.
There's the tap! Still undisputed! Khabib Nurmagomedov!
However, the drama didn't end there. With McGregor done and dusted, Khabib leaped out of the cage to dropkick Dylan Dennis, McGregor's teammate, who also talked a bunch of trash before the fight. Khabib's rare moment of madness quickly escalated into the biggest brawl in UFC history, resulting in suspensions, fines, and a sincere apology.
Nevada, sorry. Vegas, sorry. And Alhamdulillah, undisputed, undefeated UFC lightweight champion.
Much like McGregor, Dominick Cruz was another cocky superstar, undefeated in the UFC and bantamweight champion at the time, who saw his downfall in 2016 and looked completely ordinary for the first time in his career. The UFC bantamweight division has always been a place of supreme talent and matchups, and the title fight between champion Dominick Cruz and Cody Garbrandt in 2016 was a prime example. It all started when the two, who were booked to fight at the time, ran into each other backstage at UFC 202. The same day, Cruz aimed barbs at Garbrandt during the post-fight show.
I mean, it wasn't anything crazy. It was just an exchange of words and understanding and looking at each other in the eye and understanding we're going to see each other very soon, my friend. It pretty much came down to, you know, I didn't like what you said about me on some of these interviews, Dom. It hurt my feelings, basically, is the way he said it to me. He didn't say those exact words, but he might as well have. It was in his eyes. They were getting teary and stuff. And I was like, sorry, man. I'm going to have to embarrass you in front of a lot of people, so.
The pre-fight interviews were nothing short of a verbal battlefield, with Cruz taking the lead.
I'll come across there right now, dude. You're a room away.
Go ahead. Come over here.
Yeah.
Come on, turd. Let's go.
Unhook me.
Oh, I hope he comes. Bring it. Come on. Come on. Come on. You coming? You coming, little boy?
The rising prospect had little to answer to the champ's verbal prowess, but when the cage door closed, it was a completely different story. Garbrandt put on an impressive display of striking as he bruised, battered, and stunned Cruz with his punching power. The challenger dropped the champion multiple times and even showboated as a bloodied up Cruz struggled to deal with the next generation superstar. After 5 rounds of domination, Garbrandt beat Cruz by a comfortable decision to win the bantamweight title. Garbrandt was full of praise for his opponent post-fight.
Dominick's a great champion. He's arguably one of the best bantamweights to ever grace the octagon, and it was a pleasure going out there and testing my mettle.
But Cruz was just as cocky, even in defeat.
After seeing the look in his eyes a couple times when I punched him, when I kicked him, when I fought him, I'm not disappointed in myself at all. All I can say is I lost, and I'll take my loss like a man.
And just like Cruz, Luke Rockhold was another cocky champion who, after losing his crown, was anything but accepting of his loss, despite being knocked out cold. When Michael Bisping stepped in on short notice to challenge Luke Rockhold for his belt at UFC 199, the American was dripping with confidence and cockiness as he reminisced in memories of their previous encounter where he'd already defeated Bisping.
You're just an average bloke. You're just an average bloke.
Good use of English.
I'm a samurai. I'm gonna come in there silent, undetected, and I'm gonna knock you out. I'm gonna make my kill, and I'm gonna fuck you out.
You're making a fool
I'll be out on the
yourself.
next contract. Watch me.
All right, buddy.
I don't need a knee. I don't need to walk. I'll crawl in that cage.
Stop telling everybody
and I'll
about your
still
injuries then.
whoop your ass.
Bisping was cocky too, there's no denying that, but he had the fans rallying behind him, and that proved to be his greatest motivation.
You believe it, and you achieve it. And that's what I do. I know what I'm gonna do. I know that I'm better than this.
Sounds like
I know that I'm gonna knock him out.
you've ever read. Conceive, believe, achieve. Shut the fuck up. Listen.
When the two stepped into the cage, Bisping proved to be the better fighter as he danced around Rockhold and neutralized his grappling to perfection. On the feet, Bisping was having a ton of success, and just minutes into the first round, he landed a crunching left hook that puts the champ on rubber legs. Bisping followed his big opening with a flurry of punches that knocked Rockhold out cold. Despite a bad defeat, Rockhold was cocky as ever.
Some say revenge is sweet. I disagree. I think it's better than sweet. Luke, come on, buddy. When the shoe was on the other foot, I leaned over and thanked you at this moment in time. I said, well done.
Yeah, and I actually picked you up off the canvas. And you, being the you are, came up to me and was a bitch
I shook
about
your
it.
hand, and you said, I already shook your hand and told me to f off, basically.
You asked me, do you know who you are? Do you know where you are, buddy?
Yeah, that's after you.
Yeah,
Hey, buddy, you got out. You
Hey.
got knocked out, buddy. Sit down, shut up.
You got lucky.
All right. Oh, yeah. Real lucky.
Bisping.
First round, buddy.
First round.
What an ass, guys.
I will come back and kill you.
However, the two eventually reconciled a few years later and now seem to be on good terms. After dethroning Rockhold, Bisping also replaced him to become the cocky new champion who was confident that he'd easily defeat a returning GOAT of the sport. But it was about to be his turn for a rude awakening. In his second title defense, Bisping faced off against Jorge St-Pierre, who was making a much anticipated comeback after a 4-year hiatus since retiring in 2013. GSP walked away from the sport because he didn't want to compete against fighters he believed were using steroids, and only decided to return when drug testing policies were far stricter. However, Bisping fired shots at GSP by insinuating that he ran away from tougher competition.
George, listen, while you were away, because you were so scared of everybody taking steroids, I was man enough to still be fighting those guys. You went away, you went and chased aliens. I don't know what you did. No one gives a where you were or what you did. You're coming back, the sport is a different place, game over.
Bisping talked a ton of trash heading into the fight and made fun of GSP's accent.
George is a lizard. George is a boring bastard. George does take people down. I've only told the truth. Only told the truth. Is George a great UFC, MMA, martial artist? Yes, he is. Have I prepared accordingly to beat that guy and raise my game? Yes, I have. Thank you, George, for just making me put that nail in the coffin.
Are you intoxicated or something?
Are you intoxicated?
The Brit's constant jabs ultimately got under the skin of GSP, who warned Bisping that he was about to humble him.
Water is wet, fire burn, and I'm gonna beat Michael Bisping. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. I'm gonna strike you, I'm gonna pull you down, I'm gonna submit you, I'm gonna restrike you if you stand back up. I'm gonna do whatever I want.
So you're gonna look
whatever I want to do when I wanted to do it.
Take me
That's
down.
what I'm gonna do.
This is the new George St-Pierre, everybody. It's coming back a better version, right? You're gonna do the same thing. Jab, jab, double leg. The easiest game plan ever.
When the cage door closed, GSP beat the brakes off Bisping, cracking the champ with a mean left hook followed by relentless ground and pound. He sealed the deal with a perfectly executed rear naked choke that slept the champion in the third round.
I've been waiting for this for 4 years, and I did it, man. I'm very happy.
Bisping was humbled in defeat.
I didn't win. You know, ultimately that's why we do it. George was the better man. I felt good in there. Just got clipped. That's the way it goes. You go down, he locked up. He was very strong. You know, he had a good grip. I was trying to fight his hands. You know, not a lot more you can say, really.
If you enjoyed watching cocky fighters getting humbled, how about the opposite, where cocky UFC fighters actually back up their words and destroy their opponents? Check out this video here.